All right, deadline is come and gone. Brandin Cooks not traded. We saw all of the reports. We saw that Brandin Cooks was not at walkthrough today with the Texans. We saw everything he was liking on Twitter. Here's a little taste of just what Brandin Cooks was liking on Twitter, just to show that he kind of seems like he might want to be somewhere else. He liked the Jeremy Fowler tweet about a trade. He liked the Ed Warder tweet about the Cowboys. He liked all kinds of Vikings rumors, fans saying to go get him. He was liking all that. Hell, there's a Rams rumor right there. So he was liking it all. And at the end of the day, it seems like the contract, because of the contract that he signed not too long ago, Brandin Cooks not traded. And this was Brandin Cooks after the game, after he skipped his media availability. This was after Sunday. Flat out ask Brandin Cooks, because I do find it a little bit interesting that Brandin Cooks goes from there's not going to be any trade. Don't trade. You can't trade me because I'm not going to accept a trade to we're going to keep this internal. Wasn't internal a year and a half or whatever it was ago. And now all of a sudden we're going to keep it internal. This is what Brandin Cooks had to say after the game on Sunday.
I'm not worried about it's internal, so I'm not worried about that on if, what's, and is what it is.
In the past, you said you didn't want to be traded, so has that changed?
Like I said, I'm not really talking about that right now. So,
all right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Brandon.
What did he say?
All right, this is the thing about Brandin Cooks that's confusing, and I've been very supportive of players wanting out of Houston, especially with how weird things were with Jack Easterby. I've talked to people close to players, and they've said, want no part of this Easterby thing. Want no part of it. Talk to someone close to Deshaun Watson. Want no part of it. I understand that. They didn't want to drink the Kool-Aid. They didn't want to drink the Jack Easterby, Jim Jones Kool-Aid. They wanted no part of that. I get that. Brandin Cooks was one of the guys serving the Kool-Aid. That's what's confusing. And I'm not saying that players don't have, a right to change their mind. Hell, people accept jobs all the time and then they get homesick and all that. Like I went to 3 different colleges. So I understand changing your mind. I understand the human element of it. It's just kind of weird that you're one of the Kool-Aid servers, not someone who refused to drink the Kool-Aid, and now all of a sudden you want out. And you're talking about covering up lies. Bro, you co-signed the biggest liar in franchise history. Jack Easterby's the biggest liar in franchise history. I've caught him in multiple lies. Ask people what they say about Jack Easterby. So of all people, Brandin Cooks, who puts this tweet out after he doesn't get traded, don't take a man's kindness for granted, covered for all the lies for too long. Those days are done. Cross the line with playing with my career. What the hell does that mean? You co-signed the biggest liar ever. Like Jack Easterby literally told me that he left New England because they wanted to clone Robert Kraft. Are you telling me that's true? Jack Easterby literally told me that Bill O'Brien was in charge of all the trades, and this was a year after Jack Easterby sold me on all the trades. So it's really rich for Brandin Cooks to talk about lies and stuff like that, and he's just willing. He's willing to go to bat for Jack Easterby. If you want out of here, that's fine. But you bought into a team that had won 4 games consecutive years. You bought into this organization, and you're telling me because Jack leaves, all of a sudden you want out? It's just weird. It's really strange, the whole Brandin Cooks thing. And the other, it's you've seen wide receivers at times, and you've seen players kind of hold organizations hostage. We're talking about Brandin Cooks. He's a solid player. He hasn't been good this year. I don't know how weird this gets, but it's going to get really weird, especially with stuff like that. And this is the other thing. This is the other problem with Brandin Cooks. And again, he's always been a nice dude. We've had him on the show before. But this is the other thing about weird guys like Brandin Cooks to me that I don't get. And quite honestly, it kind of reminds me of like my middle school cousins or maybe girls back in high school or something like that. Like, so you're not going to talk about it, but you're going to go on social media and send all these little cryptic tweets and like all this stuff as if you don't know what you're doing there. That to me is just some weird behavior. That's really weird behavior to me from Brandin Cooks. And I don't know what the Texans do from here. Like, is Brandin Cooks just going to be, is this going to be another example of paying someone not to play? Where do you go from here? Are we at the point of no return with Brandin Cooks? I just don't get it. I mean, you don't want to talk about it, but you want to go tweet about it. They're playing with your career. Like you committed to a team that won 4 games consecutive years. And talking about lies when you're cutting for Jack Easterby, that's rich as hell. That's Bill Gates rich. That might be Elon Musk rich. That's rich as hell right there. Talking about lies. Co-signed the biggest liar that I've ever met. I don't know where this goes. I'm interested. I got my popcorn ready. And does he play Thursday? He wasn't even at walkthrough. It's going to be wild. People talking about cut his ass. I mean, financially, that would be hell to do something like that. Let him cry. Just let him sit there. Okay. It's 100% weird. Like, did he just put on a good face to get a contract? Because what is the significant change here? That's the thing I don't get. Renegotiate the contract. If you have like some sort of issue, renegotiate the contract. I just don't get. I'm getting all kinds of texts about it. Oh my gosh, we got a novel here. Appreciate all the well thought out messages. If you don't subscribe, please do. You can hear me 10 to 2 Monday through Friday in the Loop Sports Radio 610. Facebook user. We're talking about Brandin Cooks. 3rd and 5th would have been exceptional, but we having Cooks acting like he's Randy Moss or Antonio Brown when he wanted out. He's a dude who was traded by 3 teams or a wide receiver 2 on other teams. Unfortunately, on our team, he's a wide receiver 1. I'll be glad if he never suits up again. You are asked to Sean. Yeah, I mean, it's simple. It's, that contract kind of makes it a little bit more difficult than that. And I don't know how you have any leverage at this point with Brandin Cooks. Could be because he didn't want to be traded and upset he was on the trading block. No, that's not true. That's 100% not true. I want my 2011, 2012 back. I don't get why he's mad. You signed a contract extension that made it more difficult to trade you unless he didn't want to get traded and didn't like being shopped. I don't subscribe to that theory. Brandin Cooks is the new John Wall. John Wall was wanting to play. John Wall didn't sign the contract here. The Rockets, I think, just as much didn't want John Wall to play. Someone is saying Deshaun retweeted that tweet from Cooks. Okay. Good for him. He's going to have an injury to not play Thursday. Yeah, probably. I don't even know if it's going to need to be an injury. Fine him if he sits out. Yeah, okay. Whatever. And Easterby gave him money. The whole thing's just really, really it's weird. And I mean, this is just kind of one of those situations where and Deshaun Watson retweeted it, and Deshaun Watson put the smoke with the exclamation mark. And now everything's just getting really crazy because Deshaun put the fire. I'll pull it up here. Tyler Milner just tweeted it out. I'll put it up here so y'all can see it. Let's share it. So here's Deshaun right here. So he's got the little smoke and the exclamation mark. So Deshaun Watson coming in on Houston. And again, I know Deshaun's kind of a polarizing guy. I understand. I understand Deshaun Watson not wanting to be here, but Brandin Cooks was one of the Kool-Aid sippers, and now all of a sudden Brandin Cooks is going to go from being the good soldier, the it all matters, all that, to now he's like one of the guys. He's like with Deshaun Watson and all these guys that wanted out, and it's a snowball effect. And this is why, if you were going to get in the Jack Easterby business and you were going to work hand in hand, I mean, it was only a matter of time before it backfired. You got to question the Texans' culture right now. This isn't just all a Brandin Cooks thing. I mean, you got to significantly question their culture. You know, this was supposed to go from be like a ho-hum, process over results. Maybe you have the first pick in the draft. Irrelevance would have almost been good for the Texans because you weren't front and center when it came to the drama. But now all of a sudden you got Thursday night is going to be one of the low points in franchise history because it's going to be embarrassing because you're going to have the most beloved team in the history of this city. By the way, this is the Run Game Jordan shirt. I effing love Jordan Alvarez. Run Game clothing. Check that out. Motivated by Sean Pendergast's tweet. But you're going to have that team playing, and you're going to have Amazon watching. Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit are going to be roasting you. And you're going to have the Astros playing, and everyone's just going to be pointing and laughing at you. And you're probably going to have the least amount of asses in seats that you've ever had. So it's going to be humbling. Oh, and by the way, you got a player, your best player, one of your best players, is basically calling you out for your poor organizational structure. Other than that, everything's great. And this is kind of a win for the people. And I've always rolled my eyes at this too. And maybe this is something that you can't just put on Jack. Maybe Nick Caserio has to figure this out too and look in the mirror. Like, this bullshit culture stuff that they keep selling, that you roll your eyes at. Maybe they need to take a step back and realize, all right, we overvalue this. Brandin Cooks wasn't really about that. It wasn't for better or worse. There was something that happened that led to Brandin Cooks not buying into your culture. Now, is he going to say it, or is he going to go sit in his room on his bunk bed and like tweets and have a pizza party on Friday with Johnny and Timmy and who knows? They don't go to Blockbuster. I don't know what kids do. Or is he going to be a man and come out and say it? Because in the locker room, you say you're not going to talk about it, but when you get on social media, you're liking stuff and saying stuff. So what are we doing here? We're going to empty it out. Do you just need attention? Where are we going from here? We're going to empty it out. Because you're stuck here now for a while. I don't think you can start making trades till what, February? They're not going to release you unless you want to renegotiate that contract. So you got to figure that out. And this is a bad look for Nick Caserio. These culture guys are looking goofy. They're looking goofy. How much does it matter right now? I don't know. Rex Burkhead, he's a culture guy. He's one of the worst running backs statistically in the NFL. You're still running gadget plays for him. Kamu Grugier-Hill, he's a culture guy. He sucks all year, and then Christian Harris gets more time than him, and all of a sudden he wants out. Now one of the leaders of your team, he's calling you out saying you're messing with his career. Maybe this culture, maybe we need to take a step back. Maybe this is still like some lingering effects of the Easterby process. I don't know. Nick Caserio is going to have to speak on it because it ain't in-house. Like when Brandin Cooks says it's internal, it's not internal. You went to your race car bed and started liking tweets and retweeting stuff and tweeting stuff. It's not internal. It was internal when you said you didn't want to trade. So what are we doing? Is it just external when you go behind the computer? Probably didn't help the cause. Probably didn't have much leverage to get the trade. Quite frankly, with the way that Brandin Cooks has been playing, not saying it's all his fault, it's probably a little bit more difficult to trade him too. I'm kind of coming around to the idea that maybe Pep Hamilton is not a good offensive coordinator. But did Pep Hamilton make you drop that pass in Denver or Chicago, whichever it was? Is that his fault? You think you've been playing as good as you were last year? You bought into Davis Mills. I mean, everybody knew there was a chance he would suck. I mean, did we think he would be this bad? No, but did you think Davis Mills was going to be Tom Brady? How many games did you think the Texans were going to win this year? You think they're going to make the playoffs? You knew what Pep Hamilton was about. You knew what Lovie Smith was as a head coach. You knew this was a process. So what exactly changed? I mean, if you want to keep it internal, we can keep it internal. Or you want to go on social media and like and stuff? Feel like I'm reading a damn away message in high school. Brandin Cooks just went and put his away message up. All of a sudden, you figure out Johnny doesn't like you. Johnny didn't say that when we were at school in the cafeteria. Puts up his away message, and all of a sudden, Johnny doesn't like you. I mean, is this the end of the we're going to keep it internal, or are we going to say something? What are we doing here? Where's the substance? What's the problem? Again, don't take a man's kindness for granted, okay? Brandin Cooks has apparently been kind. I feel like the Texans have been pretty damn kind to him. I feel like they've been really damn kind to Brandin Cooks. Trade a second-round pick for him. Made him a face of the organization of the rebuild. Gave him a contract. What did you commit to? Like, even Deshaun Watson could come out and say, I committed to Bill O'Brien. That was my guy. That was the guy that I committed to. I needed to get broke off. Then all of a sudden, the bleep show happened and Deshaun wanted out. I actually supported that from the very beginning. Before the legal stuff and whatnot, I supported 100% Deshaun Watson wanting out. What's the deal with Brandin Cooks? What did he commit to? Committed to Davis Mills. He sucks. Okay? We knew that. We knew that was a chance. Maybe he sucks worse than we thought he would, but we knew there was a chance there. So you committed to Davis Mills. So don't tell me you're frustrated that Davis Mills sucks. Unless you you should know better than anyone else. So you knew that Davis Mills wasn't a future franchise quarterback. You committed to this roster. You committed to the ownership and all that. What changed? That's the question. What changed? Might Google me B? I probably don't need to. Y'all don't want to talk about Cal McNair, though, because he was flipping burgers at training camp. What the hell does that even mean? Like, is that like one of those cool internet lines? We've been one of the most critical shows of Cal McNair. I mean, I've talked about how bad he was as an owner. I said Deshaun Watson should have won it out. Like, I know you think that's a cute line. It doesn't make sense, and I damn sure don't need to Google your ass. But I appreciate you for hopping on and appreciate you for doing what you did. Cal McNair's early tenure as an owner has been bad. Nobody disputes that. And I'm damn sure not the guy to say that won't criticize what Cal McNair does or doesn't do. So Google these nuts. How about that? It's going to be a really interesting Thursday night, and I'm actually very intrigued about it. I can't take off games. Like, there are some people who you can decide. I'm married to this game with y'all. Like, we're in this together. So I'll be there, and I think it's going to be a very monumental historical point in the team's history, because it's going to be the most humbling moment of this rebuild. And I do think that, like, the people that are going there and the people that are like riding and dying, and we'll be out in the parking lot, we'll be tailgating before, if you want to come through, be in the locker room and stuff like that. This is going to be like the moment where if the Texans get good, you're going to look to your buddy and say, 10 years from now, you're going to say, man, remember that Philadelphia game where there were like 10,000 people there and everybody was making fun of them? This is like that. It's going to be an interesting scene. So I'm actually kind of intrigued by it, and I'm intrigued to see what happens after the game and how exactly that looks for, the organization and for Brandin Cooks. Really, is he going to be there? Or is he just going to take a little leave of absence? Someone brings up what changed was Jack Easterby. Very, very, very possible, which is weird to me that Jack Easterby. That's the thing. Like, don't talk about lies and then cap for Jack Easterby. That's weird. That's weird. Like, Deshaun Watson, and Brandin Cooks wants to talk about lies. You can't claim Jack Easterby and talk about lies. That's the problem. Like, if Deshaun wants to cut for B.O.B., cut for B.O.B. Say what you want about B.O.B. I think B.O.B. is he's a pretty hard-nosed, hard-working dude. Now, he has his flaws. We don't need to go there. I'm not here to talk about B.O.B., but he's cutting for him. And B.O.B. is a loyal son of a gun, too. He's got more character than Jack. Like, B.O.B. is a loyal guy. He rides and dies for his players. His players ride and die for him a lot of times. A lot of players don't like him, but he's a pretty player-friendly coach. So if Deshaun wants to cut for that, that's fine. I can promise you Deshaun ain't cutting for Jack. So if you're going to talk about lies, that's not the guy you want to cut for, because you look silly. You look silly when you do that. You look like a cat chasing his tail. You look like a cat chasing his tail when you say, I want it to be internal, but then you go on social media like my middle school nephew, and you go out there and put all your business out there, and you just want people to pay attention to you. You look silly there. So just have some sort of there can be differing philosophies. There can be different people that you like and stuff like that, but just have some consistency, because you look like a drama king right now. You look like a drama king. Like, you have no direction. You're like a boy band. You got no direction. Or is that One Direction? Who cares? Bad reference. It's One Direction, right? Yeah. Damn. Screwed that one up. TJ says, I need this Landry steam. Just got hot in here, and I'm pissed at this Cooks bleep. It's childish. Wish we would have traded him, but pisses me off so much. He says someone playing with his career. Well, maybe they are. Maybe they are. But why don't you tell us how? Tell us how. Eddie's talking about this is exactly why when they finally fired B.O.B., they should have gotten rid of Easterby too. Yeah, man, I think you had to keep Jack around to see what was going on, but I get it. Can't believe how long that still stays funny. Landry, we're in the offseason. Our season begins after the Super Bowl. I commit to watching this awful game because when we win, it will taste much sweeter. Exactly. We're in this together. So we got this. Mike's still talking about, yes. Yeah. Okay. Cal hired Jack. What's your point? Yeah. Cal McNair. I've criticized him 100 times. I get it. Christ almighty. I get it. Yeah. Cal McNair deserves his early ownership hasn't been good. Got my buddy Sean Pendergast in here. What a pleasant surprise.
Hey, buddy.
Here's my thing. And I've been talking about this and I want to catch you up real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Here's my thing. I've been supportive of players who've wanted to get out of here. No matter what. If Deshaun Watson wants out of here, okay. J.J. Watt wants out of here, okay. A lot of guys have wanted out of here because they didn't want to buy into the Easterby thing. They didn't like the B.O.B. era, and they wanted out. Okay, I'm okay with that. Here's my problem. Here's where I have an issue. Those were guys that were saying no to the Kool-Aid. They didn't want to drink the Jack Easterby, Jim Jones Kool-Aid. They wanted no part of that. Brandin Cooks was one of the guys walking around with a damn serving tray trying to serve that Kool-Aid. And when Deshaun commits to Bill O'Brien and then Bill O'Brien gets fired, you can say something significantly changed with Deshaun Watson. Look what Brandin Cooks committed to. He committed to a team that had just won 4 games. He committed to Davis Mills as quarterback. We knew there was a chance, probably a better than likely chance, that Davis Mills wasn't going to be the franchise quarterback. He committed to Lovie Smith, and he committed to a first-year offensive coordinator in Pep Hamilton. So the only thing that has changed for Brandin Cooks is Jack Easterby. And the other problem I have is that Brandin Cooks right now is talking out of both sides of his ass. Because on one hand, you say, I just want to keep this internal. I just want to keep this internal. And then you're going online. You're liking every damn tweet. You're putting this stuff out there. So if you want to keep it internal, keep it internal. If you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Like, let's be transparent. And when you start talking about lies and stuff, you cap for the biggest liar I've ever met in my entire life. Like, I've witnessed the guy lie all the time. So don't talk about lies and then sit there and wave the Jack Easterby flag. There's just no method to it. It strikes me as a guy who's kind of throwing a fit, and he doesn't even have a direction for why he wants out of here. That's my problem with Brandin Cooks.
Yeah, my issue, as I just tweeted a few minutes ago, and it's gotten approval from a lot of people. My issue is this: unless whatever Brandin Cooks is referring to in his tweet, covering for people and things like that, unless he's covering up something that involves a hostile workplace or covering up something illegal, he's a fraud. He's a phony. He's not the culture guy we all thought he was. He was somebody who went after a cash grab this offseason. He got waived $36 million guaranteed in his face, and he went ahead and signed it, knowing full well, Landry, I looked, he signed it on April 7th, 2022. That was well into the offseason. That was 2 months after they had named Lovie Smith the head coach. We knew Davis Mills was going to be the quarterback of this football team. Pep Hamilton had been named the offensive coordinator. There's not a single thing that going into this season that changed between the time he signed that and the season starting. There wasn't a single thing that changed in the offseason. Nothing in the draft. They didn't go draft 2 receivers to, replace him or something like that. He was signing up to be what he'd been the last couple of years, which is the leading receiver on this football team. And now he's big shock. He signed with a 4-13 team who's going in with a second-year quarterback who was shaky at best last year. Had some good games at the end of the year, but that's about it. And now it's going sideways on him. And he's pitching a fit. He's not even pitching a fit. I would respect him if he were outwardly pitching a fit. It's the passive-aggressive BS that I have an issue with. Like you laid it out perfectly. You can't stand there in front of the media and say, I'm going to keep everything internal, and then do all these tweets about how you're being done wrong with all this stuff. And I'll say this, he's going to meet with the media again at some point, because it's going to go one of two ways. Either he's not meeting with the media again and he's going silent, which would be the most cowardly thing in the world to do. And I'd like to think he doesn't have that club in his bag. Or he's going to talk to the media. And if he talks to the media and he goes with the internal, keeping it internal, I had a bad day or whatever. No, dude, you're making some pretty serious accusations in that tweet. This isn't something where you're just unhappy not getting targets, it would appear. And Deshaun Watson retweeting the whole thing. Deshaun can go to hell. Like Deshaun Watson retweeting it. Go away.
He needs to move on.
Go
away.
I
mean, I would say move on. And I actually supported him wanting out initially, but
I mean, too.
Like, you need to just move out, bro. Why hadn't he said anything about Houston? He ain't said a damn thing. So now all of a sudden Brandin Cooks says something and you want to retweet it? Yeah. If you want to come out and say Jack Easterby's the biggest fraud ever, Cal McNair sucks as an owner, like through your point of view, and say all your stuff, say your piece. Yeah. Don't wait till your buddy tweets something and then all of a sudden retweet it with like a smoke emoji. That's as weak as tweeting Future lyrics during the whole thing. And I supported you wanting to get out.
Yeah, I did too. I supported him until we started to learn more of the details of his private life. But he was given opportunities to do that. At the introductory press conference in Cleveland, I don't want to turn this into a thing about Deshaun because this is more about Brandin Cooks. But Deshaun was given an opportunity to do that, and he kept it all internal. And I get it; it's your intro press conference in Cleveland. You don't want to make it about the Texans, but dude, these guys, man, like Brandin Cooks, I'm glad he didn't get traded because it's much juicier for the rest of the year actually having him in the building than it is paying $25 to $40 million to get a second round pick for him. You know what I mean? Like that's and by the way, if he plays, which I expect him to, I expect the Texans to ask him to play. I don't think this will be a Tunsil situation where Brandin Cooks mysteriously gets a wrist injury that requires surgery that usually has you back in 3 weeks and you're gone for the rest of the year. I expect Cooks to be on the field on Thursday night. If he actually starts to get something going and put 10 good games together, then you can trade him this offseason. That should be his incentive, should be to go ball out for the next 10 weeks. Because my guess is the Texans, given their druthers at the right price, probably don't want him around anymore. So go ball out for 10 games and make life easy for all of us. And then you can get traded this offseason. But I mean, Brandin Cooks, to me, again, I'll leave open the possibility that there's something amiss where he's been done wrong. I'll leave open the possibility. I don't think it's likely. I think it's just a guy who wanted to trade, didn't get what he wanted, but he signed a $36 million extension, eyes wide open, and now he's being a baby about it. That's if I had to guess, that's the chalk, is that he's just pitching a fit because he's on a bad football team that he signed a 2-year extension to play for and said, Landry, in late July. I mean, you guys asked him, I think he came by your show and said this. I know he said it in a press conference. He said
because of Nick Caserio.
Because of Nick Caserio. He said it multiple times that day, once in the press conference and once with you and John. So what is it, man? What is it? So
I mean, he's got to say it at this point.
He's got to. He has put himself out there now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing he's got to say. It's going to get really weird.
I know. It's awesome.
And the other thing that I think Lovey's kind of put himself in like a weird spot with is he's used personal reasons for Justin Britt, and now he's using it for Brandin Cooks, and it's like, okay, was the Justin Britt thing personal reasons? And if it actually was, are you kind of minimizing it now? Because clearly the guy took off. I guess technically you can say those are personal reasons. Like anything can be personal reasons, but I don't know. And it's a tough spot for Lovey. I mean, there's no right way to handle this situation. Like Brandin Cooks is putting everybody in a tough spot. I think there should be some sort of loyalty from Brandin Cooks to what's going on to the organization, to where he's not, lashing out like this at this level, especially if it's just because of Easterby. Because if it's just because of Easterby, then you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a weirdo thing.
Yeah. If he hadn't signed the contract extension, then I would be much more sympathetic to whatever, he's lashing out.
Well, if he hadn't signed the contract extension, he would have been traded.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like you would have gotten your wish. You would have been gone.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the whole thing for me, dude, is that you knowingly signed a deal that guaranteed you tens of millions of dollars. Shut up. Like, if the only thing that changed is Jack getting fired, then I'm sorry you hitched your wagon to the least popular, least capable person in the city, in that organization. Sorry. That's who you chose to hitch your, and I say hitch your wagon to. It's not like Brandin Cooks' livelihood was tied to Easterby. It sounds like his happiness might have been tied to Easterby. Sorry, sometimes stuff goes wrong in the workplace.
So
Like, you know what I
weird.
mean, Landry? It's not like they fired Easterby and there was a clause that his contract gets ripped up if Easterby gets fired. Like, it's just.
I mean,
these
if
guys,
you just power rank the reasons why, like it's hard for me to understand. And I always try to like put myself like just go through the list. All right, are you surprised Davis Mills sucks? Should that shock you?
No.
I mean, you play with Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Jared Goff when he was there, and Deshaun Watson. Like you're shocked that Davis Mills sucks.
Right.
Pep Hamilton's offense, you don't like the system. Okay. What did you like? What were we supposed to really expect there? Losing? Are you all of a sudden tired of losing? I mean, you
Right.
seem pretty happy with being on 4-win teams. Every Wednesday when I heard you, I almost felt like I was getting like some sort of company line.
Yeah.
So outside of just Easterby leaving, there's nothing really there that seems to make a ton of sense. Maybe he thought Jack was going to be along with this the whole time, and him and Nick, and they were going to be like Wizard of Oz style, like arms linked. But outside of that, like, I don't know, like, are you going to now all of a sudden go back to, the Deshaun time and all that type of stuff and like act like that bothered you so much? Because if it morally bothered you, then damn, you probably shouldn't have re-signed here. Like
Right.
that's the thing. So now all of a sudden, like, are we going back? Or are we in the moment? Like, what are we doing? Have you been holding on to something and you were just willing to look past it? Like, what's the deal?
Yeah. I want to read the exact tweet. I just want to read it.
I got
again
it right here.
I'll
I'll put it on the screen.
Yeah, put it on the screen. I'm looking at it right now. Here's
Don't take a man's kindness for granted. Covered for the lies for too long. Those days are done. Cross the line with playing with my career in the Cole Archer logo.
Yeah, with playing with my career. Like, what is that? Like, I'll leave open the possibility that maybe Brandin Cooks is in the right here. I have no idea. Like, I'll leave open that possibility. I wouldn't bet on that possibility. I think it's a minuscule, infinitesimally small possibility. But I am leaving myself open to hearing what Brandin Cooks has to say about his side of the story. But if he chooses to say nothing, just shut up and go play. Just shut up, collect your $18 million and go play football. Stop.
Yeah, I'm open. I mean, he had a chance to say it, but I mean, I think it's obvious he wanted the trade though.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, no question. No, you the follow-up that you hit him with in the scrum after Sunday's game, to me, that scrum itself and then your follow-up was a really good one about, hey, what changed? That said everything. Because the one thing we've learned about Brandin Cooks, if you ask him a question where it gives him a chance to talk about something, he'll typically talk about something. Like he's very open in press conferences. And now all of a sudden that he's radio silent now other than Twitter. He's not doing his media sessions anymore. He doesn't go on Texans radio every Monday anymore like he used to do. I can't wait to watch this play out. We needed a little sauce, Landry, to bridge us to the Cleveland game in week 13.
Oh God. And you already know what's coming. If he's on this team, and this is going to be the most passive aggressive thing in the world. If he's on this team in Cleveland, him and Deshaun at midfield for about 10 minutes, the hug and all that type of stuff. There's going to be like, I don't know how he like, is he going to go back to normal now? Is he going to act like nothing's wrong?
He can't. I mean, if he does, he's a fraud. Like you cannot tweet. And dude, this is what I wonder. Like, did he have that tweet in his drafts for like the beginning of the day today? You know what I mean? Like he woke up this morning. I mean, I try to put myself in his shoes. Like you wake up this morning thinking that, hey, by 3:00, I might be playing for a winner. They might have traded me out of here. And then, so at that point, did he kind of project ahead and think, okay, what's it like if I'm still here, and put that in his drafts? Because if he did that, then he's an even bigger idiot, because then he just, again, unless he is forthcoming with what he's referring to, it's a little more excusable if in the heat of the moment, like 3 o'clock hits, he doesn't get traded, and then he tweets that. I mean, it's dumb. Again, it's dumb if he doesn't say what it is he's referring to. If he steps up to a microphone and says, "Hey, here's what I was talking about," then cool. I'm willing to listen to that. I would still say, dude, you signed a contract extension in the offseason. Like I would still point that out, but I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to listen to his grievances, Landry. I'm willing to hear them. I doubt it's going to move me much off of my spot, which is I don't feel sorry for anybody who signs a 2-year, $36 million, nearly fully guaranteed extension with a 4-13 team who at the time said, here's our head coach, here's our OC, here's our starting quarterback, sign here, and then he signs. And then when he's belly aching and bitching about getting out of here, those same 3 people are all still in their position. The only person that's changed is that his buddy was fired, who was an executive with the team, and his buddy deserved to be fired. What was he here? 3.5 years? He deserved to be fired 3 years and 4 months ago.
You want another nobody's talking about too?
Yes, I love those.
If I'm Brandin Cooks, and look, his emotions are his emotions. He wants out. That's fine. It's just kind of hard to like follow the line of thinking. I just don't really want Deshaun Watson co-signing me on anything this day and age. Like I don't like. Look, we can shoot side texts and maybe we can figure some stuff out. But I just don't think in this situation, which is the most dramatic situation of my career, justified or not, I don't think I want Deshaun Watson co-signing me.
No, not on that, not on anything, man. For sure not.
I'm not really down with that.
No,
Sean, appreciate you, man.
That's a good nobody's talking about. This is my first time in the locker room.
Yes, it is.
I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for coming by on such short notice. It was going to be I was on standby in case he got traded. So I walked in the room. I looked at the phone. It said not traded. I was like, that's kind of sucks. And then boom, Brandin Cooks tweets. Okay, well, this is going to get interesting. It is kind of funny, though, that Brandin Cooks, like it's one thing for Deshaun Watson to hold your organization hostage.
Mm-hmm.
You're Brandin. You're not T.O.
Man.
You're a good player. I'm not taking anything away from it, but
No. Yeah. No, you're like a wide receiver 1C. You know what I mean? Like you're not a 1A, not a 1B. 1C. You're like a 1. You're a 1 on a bad team, dude. Just take your 18 mil. Just go to take your 18 mil, get it all in 1s and 5s, put it on the bed, and do a nesty plunge into it every night.
Someone asked, should they drop Brandin Cooks from their fantasy team? I wouldn't do that.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
No,
close.
Yeah, trust him. I have 3 fantasy teams, and I have him on 2 of them. Did
you go third round or fourth?
They were both auction leagues. So I spent, $150 cap. I spent probably, $10 to $15 on him. Something like that.
You know what the Texans should do? And I'm dead serious, just as like a payback for him talking, assuming that they're, he's just being kind of petty.
Mm-hmm.
I'd include him in the jersey swap promotion.
Dude, where do you think of this stuff?
Brandin Cooks is getting in the jersey promotion. That's what I'm doing tomorrow. Like first thing, I'm drafting it up right now.
Okay. You like I do, walk through the West Verizon lobby on your way into the media room, past the mannequins that have the jerseys on them, and all season long it's been Jonathan Grenard on the far mannequin, and then Brandin Cooks on the mannequin right next to the elevator.
Yes.
Is Brandin Cooks it's Thursday night when we get there for the Thursday night football game, is the Brandin Cooks jersey on the mannequin in the Verizon lobby?
Oh God.
Would it be
too obvious?
I think, dude, I think the answer
stays.
is obvious. I think yes, for sure.
I think he stays, but
the Texans, I'll tell you this right now. The Texans do not want to get down in the muck with whatever Brandin Cooks has going on. Unless he accuses them of something falsely or something that requires them defending themselves, they do not want to get down in the muck with a player. You know what I mean? Like, and start doing petty. I think Petty walked out the door. I think Petty was fired a couple Mondays ago.
Yeah, but he's already there now.
Who, Cook? What are you talking about?
Yeah. How does Lovey handle this? Like, because Lovey's all about
I don't
the
know.
internal.
Not well today at his press conference.
Well, I thought outside of saying, what kind of question is that? Like, once they got humming, I thought it was a solid, like, at least B plus, A minus type of podium critic thing. Like, because he is in a weird position. But the what kind of question was that was weird. Yeah. But like, Lovie Smith and Davis Mills have done like a really good job of like defending Brandin Cooks, and everyone has. How does Lovie respond to someone like putting this type of stuff out there?
Yeah.
Like, does Lovie come out and call out Brandin Cooks? Because I think that would go a long way for Lovie.
If he were to to call out Cooks and point out like just how silly this whole thing is right now.
Yeah, do something. I mean, because you've gone above and beyond saying, this is internal, we don't talk about it. And now Brandin Cooks is
tweeting,
openly talking about it.
Yeah. That'd be cool. Well, you know what? Are we glad this is a short week? Because
they are.
Yeah, well, I know. That's the thing. Like normally Lovie would be doing a press conference tomorrow. So I think the timing actually kind of the fact that it was a Thursday game in terms of getting what we want out of people, out of the major players involved in this, kind of screwed us. Because you think about how a normal week would go, Landry. The game were on Sunday this week. They would have had just players open locker room today. Trade deadline comes and goes. Brandon's tweeting his BS, and then we would have had Lovie tomorrow after all this stuff played out, as opposed to today before it all played out. And oh, by the way, tomorrow also would have been the day where it should be Brandin Cooks meeting with the media. Except for the last 2 weeks, he has not.
Yeah, today would have been his day, and they held him off.
Right. So it would have been normally tomorrow they would have held him off after the trade deadline. So we kind of as media and as fans, I would say too, because it'd be much more fun to watch it play out this way. We got kind of screwed that it's a Thursday game this week, in terms of guys standing in front of a podium to address all this stuff.
Man, I tell you, if Nick Caserio was one of the reasons that you wanted to ride along and you love Nick Caserio, boy, you sure did him a hell of a favor today.
Right.
I mean, damn.
Yeah.
With friends like Brandin Cooks.
I know, man.
Goodness gracious. Would you take Philly to cover on Thursday if you were?
I'm staying away. I don't.
No, if you had to bet, you have a gun to your head.
I'll take the
imaginary,
points.
Of course.
I'll take the points. Yeah, I'll
take 13.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm not betting you. You put a gun to my head. I'm not betting you right now. You have a look on your face.
No, I'm not touching it. I'm not
either. I'm just saying, like, my general rule is I don't play road double-digit favorites in the NFL. I just don't. So if I don't touch them, then you're asking me gun to my head. Okay, I'll take the points, but I'm not betting that game.
You don't give up. You don't play them at all. Like
I don't play the. Yeah, it has to be. I generally don't play them at all. Double-digit road favorites in the NFL. Now, if I were, this one would come close, I would say, because there's no home field advantage. If anything, it might be a Philly crowd.
How about Collinsworth and Herbstreit going to roast the crowd, like the lack of butts and seats?
Oh, Al Michaels, yeah.
Oh, Al is going to be holding court. Al's going to be sitting there holding court.
That's all he's going to talk about is the spread, probably.
He's going to talk about the lack of butts and seats. And
he
the
will.
Fact
he's
that the
honest.
Astros are playing.
He's at a DGAF phase of his career. He doesn't care.
They're phenomenal together, by the way.
They're really good.
I was really shocked. I did not anticipate that.
They're really, really good. Yeah. I like them both individually. So unless they
Herbstreit NFL though, I just figured if it was like a tight cast, like I can't watch Modern Family. I know it's a great show.
Mm-hmm.
He's Al Bundy. Like I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like Kirk Herbstreit's the face of college football.
Yeah.
That's not to say he's not good at it. It's just kind of like a tight cast, like a field type thing.
Yeah. No, he's turns out he's just really good at doing football.
Really good.
Yep.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
You got it, buddy. What do I need to do here to get out of this?
I can just remove you and then you can just sign out.
All right, cool, man.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
Sean Pendergast. There he goes. The man, the myth, the legend, the radio goat of Houston. Don't care what any of you folks say. That's my radio goat right there. My partner, Sean Pendergast, 6 to 10 a.m. On Sports Radio 610. Fire that up on the Odyssey app. If you got any more questions, we'll rapid fire through them. Just to put a bow on it, I think Brandin Cooks has been a little bit all over the place with the way this whole thing has been handled. Is it internal or is it external? What's going on? What exactly is it that you don't like about what you committed to? What exactly did you expect? Is this all about Jack Easterby? What are we going to get moving forward? That's really the biggest takeaway from Cooks, this whole thing. Again, listen to the show. We'll keep this dialogue going. I always appreciate the dialogue with y'all, everyone. Agree or not, disagree, whatever. There's plenty of blame to go around, plenty of things to talk about. Glad Deshaun took a step back from sexually assaulting women to put forth his input. Only thing worse than his opinion is his fiance's music. Man, Cardi D minus, she is a rough listen when it comes to the music. Dark side, Deshaun opinion only matters if someone wants a happy ending. Deshaun's getting roasted now. Texans aren't going to be good till 5 years from now. You could be right, Abel. You could be right, although with 4 first-round picks next couple of years, who knows? Appreciate everyone for stopping by. Astros tonight, going to have a little post-game in here. Spread the word. Subscribe at Landry Locker on Twitter, at Landry Locker on Instagram. Only been doing this for about 2 months. It's only going to get better, and it's only going to get more fun and more interactive. Hit me up on social media. I'm not like some of these guys who don't respond. I'll respond to you. And we'll have some fun, man. We're all in this. Remember, sometimes it stinks around here. The Astros are good. Texans are bad. But no matter how good or bad it gets, we are all in this together. Have a good one. Get ready for this Astros game. We got about 3 hours to prepare. Weather willing. Looks like it's going to be fine. And I will talk to y'all later tonight after hopefully the Astros get the dub. Appreciate y'all. Have a good one. Brandin Cooks unhappy, a little bit more juice around here, and things could get very, very weird.